Welcome to Dad's Watching Sports. Guys, it is episode 20. Hard to believe we're 20 episodes in this year. We've had the fun stuff of COVID-19 that has really kind of thrown us all off, but we're plowing through the way that dads only do here on Dad's Watching Sports. Thank you so much for joining us on this week's podcast. It is Sunday, June 21st, 2020. And guys, dads kind of have two Super Bowls a year. One's the actual Super Bowl, and the other is Father's Day. And it is Father's Day. And yes, there's some stuff that's kind of going on in the sports world, but we're really going to shift gears for today and just have like a dad-centric show. We're going to talk a little bit of kind of some sports-related topics within some dad stuff, but it's all about the dads today. We had the mothers on a couple of weeks ago, and they were awesome. They helped us get through our movie bracket. Still upset about Tin Cup, but today is Father's Day. It's, we're celebrating dads all weekend, all week long, and we wanted to do that here on this show. Michael Draper, Kyle Castles, and Matt Kirk back from his 2-week sabbatical in Turks and Caicos. We are glad to have Matt back. If you see him on the video, he's nice and tan from that sabbatical. Matt, I'm very jealous. Guys, you can check us out on the RTF Sports Network at rtfsportsnetwork.com. We are live on that network Mondays at 10 a.m., and as you know, as always, as I say every single week, you can check us out on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, and now we have our new website. That's right. Kyle got that bio in, and our website is up and launched. Go check it out. It's dadswatchingsports.com. As I mentioned last week, you can check out really all kinds of fun stuff on there. You can get info about us, kind of who we are, what we do in our free time. There's some information about some of the causes that we support. There's just some random stuff that we recommend. Like I think I recommended a book. There was an awesome picture of some steaks that Kyle grilled, and Matt, some big fish that Matt caught a couple of weeks ago. So check out the website. Shoot us some information. Shoot us some suggestions of things you'd like to see, not only on the show, but on the website as well. And, of course, we want you to interact with us all throughout the week. Guys, as I mentioned, it is Father's Day, and it's a very important day for us, not only as sons from fathers, but then also being fathers ourselves. And again, I know there's sports going on, but this is dads watching sports, and so we got to talk a little bit about Father's Day. So, Matt, fresh off that sabbatical to Turks and Caicos, man, how was Father's Day? How did it treat you there at the Kirk household, and any recap you'd like to give?
Man, it was great. Yesterday we took my daughter to the park, and we went to Chick-fil-A first, and we got lunch. We had some lunch at the park, and then we took my daughter to the slide. She went on the slide, and then we took her to the swing, and she loved the swing. You can check out the pictures on my Instagram.
There we go.
Kirks_Q. I got some pictures up that my wife did there. You can tag me, or you can look under my tagged pictures and you can see those, or on Facebook, but my Facebook's private for all you perverts out there. But yeah, so we did that, and then I fished a little bit. I didn't catch anything but my finger.
Nice.
I got my finger on the hook there one time and had to say a few select words, or as we call them, adult words.
There we go. Well, we've already dropped perverts on the show. Might as well just drop the adult words too. So.
Yeah. And then after that we went after that we went to the pool, and then today we went to my wife's grandma's house for fried chicken.
There we go.
And then tonight we went to my favorite burger restaurant and got dinner, and it's called Snuffers.
Ooh.
And I got the fried jalapeno burger. I got that and order of cheese fries.
There we go. Now we're talking.
And then we stopped at Great American Cookie Company, and I got a double stuffed cookie.
Attaboy.
Yep.
Good Father's Day indeed. Kyle, the Castles household, I know, is always an exciting place to be. How was your Father's Day, man?
It was good. So it kind of sort of started Thursday. So every Thursday, my father-in-law picks up the boys, and he's got I think he just moved. I think this one's got like 12, 13, 14 acres, maybe 15 acres of land. He's got 3 donkeys and a pond, and they go out and they work, right? Air quotes,
Nice.
work. And then they get to play at the farm or whatever, and he lets the boys make something for Mother's Day and Father's Day. And Thursday when he brought the boys back, my 3-year-old went to try and tell me. He said, "Daddy, I painted and Mama cut him off, right?" And took time to explain, like, this is going to be a surprise. Like, we're not going to tell Daddy. It's going to be a surprise on Sunday. because what's it going to be on Sunday? And his response to that was a walking stick. So, and not like, hey, it's going to be Father's Day on Sunday, but the gift is still going to be a walking stick, Mom, whether it's Sunday or not.
That's a great story.
So I got a walking stick today, painted. Mike, I told you about this, I think Friday when I saw you. It was painted green and orange and red and blue, just like we said. But I had some other things. Lauren had gotten this little travel coffee mug that the boys could decorate and stuff. And Wrigley drew a picture of me and him on it. And so that was cool. And I got Jack handprints that he made at school and a picture of Hannah. So it all worked out pretty well. But yeah, Jack, the 3-year-old, that dude can't keep a secret.
As no kid can. And that's kind of similar situation happened in our household. So on Thursday as well, our daughter does gymnastics on Thursday, and her and Suzanne come in. My wife's come in from gymnastics, and my son and I are getting dinner ready. And she goes, "Daddy, we got to give you your present." And I was like, "Present? You know, what's going on here?" And so my wife was like, "Well, she was going to dinner with some friends on Friday. Our daughter was spending the night with her aunt on Friday, so it's just going to be me and our son Hayden for a while. Obviously, he goes to bed early." And she's like, "Well, I want to go ahead and give this your Father's Day gift to you now, since you're going to have your Friday nights alone." And guys, the Twitterverse, the dads watching sports fans have spoken, and a PlayStation 4 showed up in our kitchen on Thursday evening, along with FIFA. So thank you to the avid listeners of the show, those who voted on Twitter, those who voted that I should not get one. You can go and unfollow us at any time you'd like.
Easy. One of those was the show's general counsel. So
I know, and I'm so disappointed in that. I've been very disciplined in my PlayStation playing so far. It's only been night times, and I'm not trying to overtake any family time. But yeah, so that was awesome. Getting that and been able to trying to wrap my mind around this PlayStation, because I haven't had one since the 2, and it's changed quite a bit. But it's been good. So we had that obviously, as I mentioned, on Thursday going into Friday for Father's Day ourselves. We had some family over. We did some breakfast this morning. I don't know if you guys had a chance to check it out or not, but ESPN had a couple of E60 specials this morning. One was on Marquise Goodwin, used to be the 49ers, now the Philadelphia Eagles. I won't spoil it, but essentially it was just kind of he and his wife's path to parenthood, and just some unbelievable heartbreak that they suffered through. And then Ernie Johnson, we all know him as Ernie from TNT, NBA on TNT. Had a really cool story about he and his wife, that they adopted a lot of children from like Romania and other places, and just had a really touching story about him as well. So I would highly encourage you guys to go and check it out. The E60s on Marquise Goodwin and Ernie Johnson. So check those out earlier in the day. And then for dinner, we hit up some we broke out the Costco chicken Alfredo, which was awesome. And then we went to DQ and got a Blizzard, which was fantastic to finish up Father's Day. So a good Father's Day.
Well, you didn't just get a Blizzard. You got to say what kind of Blizzard you got.
Oh, so I got the it was great. What was it? The Oreo cheesecake limited time only Blizzard. But I will say the guy didn't flip it upside down, so I was a little nervous on the quality of my Blizzard, but it was fantastic. Guys, well, I'm glad everybody had a great Father's Day. As I mentioned, we're going to kind of continue the dad theme throughout the show, and I know there's sports stuff to talk about. We'll get to it next week as stuff continues to happen with COVID and leagues coming back or not coming back. But continuing on this dad theme, I kind of teased this on the show last week. The best father-son or father-daughter duo or duos in sports history. There's a lot to choose from, and there's some phenomenal athletes, a father-son, even some father-daughter combos out there. Kyle, I'll toss it to you first. Who's just maybe one or two that really kind of come up for you that you think, man, this is one of the best, if not the best of that duo?
So I tried to go kind of off.
I like it.
Off the beaten path here with one of mine. And the other one is one that, Mike, you know me and my family very well. You should be waiting on this one.
Yep, I knew that was coming.
So I'll do the one that that's coming first. The Manning family. I mean, you got a father and two sons, and Archie was one of, if not the biggest name in college football when he was playing at Ole Miss, and actually my dad's hero growing up. And then he had two sons that obviously played in the NFL and each won a couple Super Bowls. And so Archie Payton and Eli Manning is one. And then to get off the beaten path a little bit, I got Rick and Charlotte Flair.
Ooh, nice.
Rick going with 16 world titles, and Charlotte I think's already won 7, 8, 9 of them. So I gave you father and sons and father-daughter groupings there.
And I tell you one thing: if Ric Flair had never invented Space Mountain, Charlotte Flair would not be a thing.
That's right. That is absolutely right. He was a limousine riding, kiss stealing, wheeling dealing. Matt, where are you going in terms of some of the best father-son, father-daughter duos in sports history?
Well, y'all know I'm a bit of a redneck, and I like this sport where they drive in circles and they make left-hand turns. I'm going to go with probably the best father-son duo of all time, Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Dale Earnhardt Sr. In my opinion, that you can't beat that. And then for the father-daughter, everything that was going on this year, I couldn't go without saying Kobe and Gianna. Even though Gianna, she never played in the NBA, but Kobe Bryant was, by far one of my favorite players to watch. In those years, him and Shaq were together in LA. and what's the word I'm looking for? An honorable mention. Yeah. Steph Curry and Del Curry. I do remember Del Curry a little bit. So
yeah, Del Curry was he was kind of similar to Steph in the regard of more of a 3-point specialist, but obviously Steph really surpassed him, pretty far and has become just a phenomenal player. So mine's kind of off the beaten path, and I just ended up choosing one. I mean, I know there's a ton out there. I mean, you think about the Griffeys, the Ripkins, just in baseball. Really, the Longs in football. There is just so many different father-son or father-daughter combos out there, but the one that I went for is kind of off the beaten path a little bit. I guess you could say it's a father-daughter pair, but to me, still the greatest athlete of all time is Muhammad Ali. I think not only what he did, and then from an athletic standpoint, and then taking some time off, and then coming back and doing it again. He's highly regarded as the greatest athlete of the 20th century. And I think he's still the greatest athlete of all time. And he's just known as simply the greatest. So when you have the nickname of the greatest, you have to be ranked up there. And then I did a little bit of digging into, because I knew his daughter Layla was a boxer, and did a little bit of digging into her career and had no idea about it, that she retired. And when she did, she was undefeated. She was 24-0 in her career, undefeated, ended up retiring, held 5 belts when she retired. And so you think of quite possibly the greatest athlete of all time with quite possibly could be the one of the greatest female boxers of all time. And you put those together, to me, that's the best father-daughter duo in sports history. And again, I think it's obviously majority of that is because of Muhammad, but I think you add in Layla and then what she's kind of done after her career as well, staying in kind of pop culture and staying in the kind of the forefront of sports media. To me, I had them, but again, all kinds of options that you could choose from out there. And, again, we just wanted to kind of tie that into today's event, with it being Father's Day, and just kind of breaking down, okay, who are some of those. And so I think it's every parent's dream, guys, that you can have your child kind of follow in your footsteps, whether that's a career, whether that's professional sports, whether that's faith-based or whatever have you. So I can only imagine that these parents, these dads that we've talked about, had to be just so incredibly proud, because in a lot of these cases, especially, Kyle, what you were alluding to with the Mannings, it seems like the sons more than likely probably overtook Archie's legacy in terms of his playing career, just from a professional standpoint, that is. And so it's really cool. Guys, we got to go to a quick break. When we come back, we're going to be let off. Again, this is the dads watching sports, and it's all about dads today. And why not have a couple of dad jokes? So Kyle is going to lead us off coming out the break with a dad joke, and then we're getting into who's your daddy, what is some of the most one-sided rivalries in sports. We will be right back on Dads Watching Sports. Thanks for checking out this week's episode of Dads Watching Sports. We hope you subscribe to our show in Apple Podcast app as well, or wherever you listen to podcasts. But are you following us on social media? Now, whether your thing is Facebook, Twitter, the Gram, YouTube, or yes, even TikTok, you can find some great dad content on all of our pages. Now, enough of this nonsense. We just need to pay Kirk's PlayStation internet bill. Now, back to the show with Matt, Kyle, Michael, and all the fun of Dads Watching Sports. And we're back here on Dads Watching Sports. It is Father's Day, Sunday, June 21st, episode 20. Again, guys, I can't believe we're 20 episodes in. Time kind of flies when you're having fun, so to speak, and we're definitely having some fun here on Dads Watching Sports. If you're checking us out on the RTF Sports Network, again, we're live there on Mondays at 10 a.m. Central. Not only shoot us a note, but tag RTF Sports Network in a social media post, whether that be Facebook or Twitter or whatever have you. Let them know you're listening to the show on their network, and we would definitely appreciate that. And again, you can always check us out, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. We want you to go into all of the places where you listen to podcasts and give us a review, give us a rating. We would love to hear what you think about our show. If you have any suggestions on how we could improve, we always are looking for those for sure. So, guys, we've got to lead off this next segment. Again, Father's Day, all about dads on this show with a dad joke of the week. And we're going to do that 3 times this show. So, Kyle, I'm going to put it to you first. Hit us with your dad joke.
So, Lauren, my wife, she likes to say that most of my jokes are dad jokes at this point, and I feel like they've always been dad jokes, but now I have a reason to tell them since I'm a dad. But do y'all know why a bike can't stand up on its own? Why it needs a kickstand?
I don't know, Kyle. Tell us.
Because it's too tired.
Nice.
Wow, wow, wow.
And our wives are completely embarrassed of us.
And there's a lot of eye rolls.
Yeah, without a doubt. And those are
take
only
back my New Balances.
That's right. Oh man, yeah, that's only going to continue as the show goes on. Thank you, Kyle. We appreciate the effort there, nonetheless. All right, guys, who is your daddy? And I'm not talking about you specifically. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. But the most one-sided rivalries in sports. There's a lot to choose from. It really seems like that you get through some of the kind of the nitty gritty of the details, and you look like, man, this one team or this one coach or this one group or this one organization has just owned this other team. So we're going to give you our top 5 most one-sided rivalries in sports. We'll start 5 and go through 1. And guys, if you don't mind, I'm going to go ahead and get us kicked off here. Number 5, I've got Yankees and Red Sox in baseball, and I know, over the past really decade or so, the Red Sox have kind of made a little bit of a charge that they won it in 04 and 07, but the Yankees just across the board have owned the Red Sox, so they're my number 5. My number 4 is going to college football. Actually, my 4 and 3 are going to college football. Number 4, Oklahoma and Oklahoma State. Kyle, we talked a lot about Oklahoma State last week, and maybe we were bad luck for them because they had some bad luck going into the start of the week. But Oklahoma, in 114 Bedlam meetings, OU leads 89-18 with 7 ties, just dominating Oklahoma State, although that will change this year, as I mentioned earlier. My number 3, if you look at college football, really without a doubt, the biggest rivalry that is most one-sided is Notre Dame Navy. They've met 102 times. Notre Dame leads 88-13 with 1 tie. Navy in 2007 broke a 43-year streak of losing to the Fighting Irish. The midshipmen did. So that's my number 3. Number 2, I'm going a little bit different here, and you guys are going to yell Homer at me. My number 2 is John Calipari versus Louisville. In 10 seasons at Kentucky, he's 10-2 against the Cards, and Louisville's only 2 wins came by a combined 6 points. 2 of those wins for Kentucky were in the NCAA tournament, 1 in the Sweet 16, 1 in the Final Four. Cal, he owned Rick. He still owns Louisville, and I love it. It's awesome. And then number 1, how could you go anything different than the Harlem Globetrotters versus the Washington Generals? The Globetrotters have won 16,000 games against the Washington Generals. It doesn't get any more one-sided rivalry than that. Matt, any thoughts on mine? And then what's your top five?
Well, I had to say yours is pretty good. For mine, I've got number 5 as the Yankees versus – well, hold on. No, it's not that one. Where's it at? It's the Cubs versus the Cardinals. I got them coming in at number 5. The Cardinals, I know, Kyle, I know. But the Cardinals have won 1,092 times, and the Cubs have won 1,049 times. It's not completely devastating, but the times the Cardinals have beaten the Cubs in the playoffs is the real difference maker.
Yeah, I think that's Cards have beaten the Cubs. I think they've met 12 times in the playoffs, and Cards won 10.
Yeah,
it's pretty dominant.
Yeah, appreciate that.
Yeah, and then I'm going to go number 4, West Virginia versus Marshall. West Virginia is 11-0 all time against Marshall. That's pretty one-sided right there, if you ask me.
That's even including Stan Hill playing for the Thundering Herd, Kyle.
Yes.
Stan Hill. There's a name that I didn't think would ever show up on this podcast.
I know, right? I hope he's listening.
And then I've got number 3. I got the Lions versus the Vikings. The Vikings have the all-time lead on this one, 66-31-2.
Nice.
And then you're going to see me go to where's that one at? The Eagles versus the Cowboys. The Cowboys have only won a few more times, but obviously, especially a shout-out to our boy Growerk up in New Jersey. The Cowboys had out of their 100 meetings, the Cowboys have won 56 times. So it's not overwhelming, but it is what it is. And then for number 1, I have to go Undertaker at WrestleMania. Until streak was conquered by Brock Lesnar.
There we go.
Yeah.
Yep. And for those of you that are wondering, remember the Undertaker's daddy was Paul Bearer.
Yes, he was.
See, that's no, wait, you're right. You're right. I'm wrong.
Yep. Kyle?
Matt, your number 1's fantastic.
That is good.
That's good stuff. Let's see. Number 5, I got Texas and Texas A&M in football. With all the times they've played, I don't think A&M has actually won 40 games in that rivalry. So Texas has been pretty dominant there. Number 4, I got Tiger versus Phil.
Yep.
I understand Phil's come in and won some majors, but if I remember right, that's when Tiger kind of had to leave for a little while and get his personal life in order, and heal from some injuries. Number 3, the Battle of L.A., the Lakers and the Clippers. Obviously, the Clippers have been a bottom-of-the-barrel franchise until the last, decade-ish, maybe 15 years. But and the Lakers have always been kind of at the top of the NBA, at least since they moved to L.A. Number 2, I got Yankees-Red Sox. Mike, you've already done said everything that needs to be said there. I mean, Yankees. You could put Yankees the rest of the major league,
right? Yeah.
I mean, just be really honest. And then I thought that I was going to be the only one to put the Globetrotters and the Generals at number 1, but you beat me to that punch. And I think what I saw was 16,000 and some change to 4.
Yeah, the Generals
4.
The Generals got a couple of wins early in their tenure.
I would have loved to actually been at one of those where the Generals got a win.
Oh yeah, the entire crowd would have been like that guy after the Undertaker got beat, where he's just going. That'd been the entire crowd. They'd be like, "Wait, what? This is scripted." Or wait, never mind. Sorry.
Whoa.
All right. Well,
it's
there you
still
go.
real to me.
That's right. That's right. We had to get that in for sure. Well, there you go. Our most one-sided rivalries in sports history. Those poor Washington Generals, and then anybody that faces the Undertaker at WrestleMania. It's just not a good. The odds are not in your favor. We'll just leave it at that. Guys, wanted to give us a couple of minutes here, and we've got, as I kind of pull up my clock, we've got 5 or 6 minutes here to kind of talk about this. But just wanted to give us, again, this is Father's Day. Wanted to give us a little opportunity just to talk about our dads and kind of life with them or fathers-in-laws, because we're all married and we all have relationships with those guys as well. And I'll kind of get us started on that as well. And I think I've mentioned, I don't know if I've ever mentioned it on this show, but I mentioned it, I think on our awesome new website that you need to check out, which is dadswatchingsports.com. I'm the son of a preacher, and yes, the stereotype was pretty traditionally true about, the sons of the preachers are the ones that are usually some of the worst and leading the coup with all the other kids from church. Kyle can attest to that.
Yes, I can.
I was definitely one leading the charge, but
Such a bad.
What's that?
Good. Just a bad influence.
Yeah.
Terrible.
I recognize that for sure. But yeah, my dad, James, great guy. Definitely appreciate, everything that he, gave us and taught us. I think in thinking back, really two things that my dad really instilled with me, was just, a work ethic. Here's somebody who's as I mentioned, he was a pastor, worked all the time around the clock, was visiting people all the time, preparing for, Sundays, which were his Super Bowl type of thing. And definitely work ethic. And then also just being relentless and being not really just taking a back seat. And that kind of leads me to the second part is he was diagnosed with Parkinson's in 1998. So 25 years ago, diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, and it's really kind of taken its toll on him. And I've never seen somebody that's so committed to just kind of taking the next day and the next day and the next day and just kind of rolling with the punches. It's been really tough for our family. We haven't been able to see him since the quarantine and COVID and everything, just because he lives at a senior center, assisted living home, and they have been locked down, and they haven't really allowed anybody in. They're not letting anybody out. So it's been really tough for us to not be able to see him. We took an iPad over to him and FaceTimed a couple of times, but it's definitely been tough. And so shout out to my dad. Just again, I've never met somebody who is just so committed to dealing with the stuff they got going on and just going day after day of saying, you know what, I'm just going to get up and we're going to do it again today. And I'm going to get up and we're going to do it again today. And I think he's really put that on me as saying, it doesn't matter how tough things get or, what life kind of throws your way. It doesn't matter if you feel like you're doing all the right things can kind of come up out of nowhere, but all you can continue to do is to live and to do things day after day. And so definitely wanted to give him a shout out today, and definitely appreciate everything he's done. So Kyle?
Yeah. So there's a lot I could say about my dad. I hear him. There's a country song by Chris Young called Voices. He says he hears voices all the time, and it talks about, like, he can hear his mom or whoever in his head. And I hear my dad a lot, especially as I'm trying to raise my kids. One of his favorite sayings was always, if it's worth doing, it's worth doing right. And I hear that every time I have to get on, my 5-year-old. We're trying to get him some chores that we can pay him for or whatever, and he'll try to put in as little amount of effort as possible to still get that quarter or whatever we're going to pay him for. And so I hear my dad there. But to me, and we FaceTimed my dad right after supper tonight, and it was, I don't know why, but it hit me in this conversation. The way my dad talks to me now versus the way he talked to me when I was, a dumb 14, 15-year-old. It shows the respect he has for me as a man. Gone are the days where I have this fearful respect of him, and now it's just mutual respect, and I think that's really cool. And I look forward, without wishing away time, I look forward to when my boys are that to that point where I can there's that mutual respect between us, and I can just talk to them like I would you guys or any other adult. I feel like that's a really, really cool dynamic to our relationship that's not what it was when I was growing up.
Yeah, absolutely. That's really cool.
Matt. Okay.
Back from Turks and Caicos.
That's right. Hey, all I got on my mind is that song by Thomas Rhett talking about Turks and Caicos.
There you go.
So It's a little bit of a sensitive subject for me, I guess. I don't have the world's greatest relationship with my dad. But one thing that I can say about my dad that I love is that he always was to make sure that I was taken care of in a financial way. If I ever needed any money for anything or whatever, he always made sure that he had that for me, and that was very important to him. It still is to this day. I can go see him today, and he's all tied up with work, but he always asks, "Hey, you know, do you need any money? Are you good?" Well, obviously, you know, 18-year-old Matt, 19-year-old, 20-year-old Matt would say, "Yeah, I'll take whatever you can give me." But and I guess now that I'm older, it's not about that as much. It is about wanting to spend time with him. But that and to always take care of your family. That's always first. And then I would say that second is to always work hard and to work for everything you've got and to not take any handouts from anyone, because that's not the way of the world. You have to grind and you have to work. There'd be times on a day I would go to school or like during the summer I would go to football practice, or I'd just be up sometimes just because. And my dad would be up and he'd be out of the house by between 6 and 7, and then I'd be turning in for the night at 9 or 10 o'clock at night, and he's just now getting home.
Yeah.
And working hard to provide and working hard to take care of your family and all your responsibilities. And that's something that I for sure do. I've been through times, where, I'm not a big, I've had jobs where I'm not a big fan of it or whatever, and I just keep my head down and grind and, try to make the best of it as possible. And that's one thing that my dad always has done. And still to this day, I can call my dad. Like I called him at 8 o'clock tonight, and he was cutting grass at my grandma's house. And that's just, one thing. He'll always take care of his family.
Yep.
And that's one thing that I love. And I have that other part of that relationship with my father-in-law. Like 2 weeks ago, he took me fishing, and I hadn't been fishing in a few years, and man, I caught some monsters. I'm not gonna lie. I caught one that was probably between 6 and 8 pounds. I didn't have a scale until now, so I didn't know exactly what it weighed, but I caught probably 2 that size, and then I caught some smaller ones that were probably 3, 4, 5 pounds a piece, and that's a big old bass. But he also has taken me hunting, and and we talk about guy things. It's not always about work and stuff like that, and that's that means a lot to me. And then as a father figure, I look at him, and I don't mean to be weird here, Michael, but I admire you as a father and my brother. Those are two influential people in my life of being a dad. So.
Yeah. Get emotional here on Dad's Watching Sports. That's why I like it, man.
Yeah.
This is what people are listening to us for, so I like it. That's awesome. Well, thanks guys for sharing. I appreciate that, because I know it's important for us to talk about that kind of stuff. We're going to take a quick break. We'll come back. Matt's going to continue us on with his dad joke, and we'll talk about some other stuff going on. We'll be right back on Dad's Watching Sports. Thanks for checking out this week's episode of Dad's Watching Sports. We hope you subscribe to our show in Apple Podcast app as well, or wherever you listen to podcasts. But are you following us on social media? Now, whether your thing is Facebook, Twitter, the Gram, YouTube, or yes, even TikTok, you can find some great dad content on all of our pages. Now, enough of this nonsense. We just need to pay Kirk's PlayStation internet bill. Now, back to the show with Matt, Kyle, Michael, and all the fun of Dad's Watching Sports. Welcome back to Dad's Watching Sports. It's the Father's Day edition. We're talking all things dad. If you're just catching us on the RTS Sports Network, or you're, for whatever reason, this is the point you joined the show, go back and listen to the very beginning. We give a recap of our Father's Day. We talk about some of the best father-son or father-daughter duos in sports history. Kyle dropped an awesome dad joke that you're really going to want to go back and listen to. We talked about some of the one-sided sports rivalries, kind of a who's your daddy type of thing, and talked a little bit about our dads and father-in-laws as well. Also want to give a shout-out to my father-in-law. Didn't do that earlier, but Bob Votler, just an awesome guy, and really kind of like you alluded to, Matt, has shown me how to continue to what it means to provide for a family and just kind of be that great dad role model. But Matt, we wanted to get some dad jokes incorporated, because why not? It's Father's Day. We might as well give out the best of us. So what is your dad joke?
Man, I don't have time for a dad joke. I'm not gonna lie. I was wanting to tell you about I ate a clock yesterday. Yeah, it was
You
really
ate a
time.
clock?
Yeah, it was really time consuming, especially when I went back for seconds.
Nice. Now that's a good dad joke right there.
Much better than mine.
That was very good. That's got the listeners coming back for more for sure. There's no doubt about that. So, thank you for sticking with us through all this. Those that are checking out the show, we appreciate it, guys. One thing, Kyle, you wanted to hit on this week is just kind of a fun topic for us to talk about in kind of the dad world, and then we're going to get into a few more kind of sports things. And as we finish the show, one thing I'm really excited about is I have come up with some kind of dad related trivia. It's all kind of sports related, but some trivia questions that I'm going to pose to Matt and Kyle. We'll give a couple apiece, and I've got a tiebreaker just in case we break into a tie. So we'll get to that later. But Kyle, you wanted to talk about dad's superpower, kind of like what's your thing that you do extraordinary and above average or above and beyond as a dad. So since this is something you wanted to talk about, I'll toss it to you first, and let's see what you got.
So, I had no idea what my superpower was when I threw it out there. I just thought, we could maybe find some way to make this work.
Yeah.
And so thinking about it, I think mine is I have super dad voice.
Okay.
I got like I said, I got a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old boy, and they tend to kind of get into their own world, and you can say their name over and over and over again, and mama can get loud, and it's still they can't you can't snap them out of it. But if I know the tone to get to, and those heads snap around pretty quick, and or if they're their bedrooms are upstairs, and if I'm downstairs and I hear them up when they're not supposed to be up, I can just say 2 names, and I hear little feet run back to their beds.
So let me get this straight. So you're telling your children something in a regular voice, kind of like we're talking right now, and they don't pay attention. Is that what I'm hearing?
That if they have something else, toys in their hand, something like that, sometimes. I'm not gonna say every time, but sometimes. They're 3 and 5. That's kind of what happens.
Well, that's kind of what I was alluding to, because literally today we had to have multiple conversations with our daughter about, like, when an adult is talking to you, especially if it's because you're in trouble about something, you need to put everything down, look them in the eye, and listen well enough to where you can understand and you can tell them back what they said if you need to. Man, that just drives us crazy. It's like, just listen, like, quit being distracted by the fly flying around or playing with your teeth or whatever. Like, listen. And then, you sometimes you have to break out that super dad voice for sure. And that'll straighten them up really quickly. Matt, I'm very curious to hear what your superpower is from your dad's superpower.
Well, so I've got 2 at the very top of this list. The first one is for sure my super dad reflexes.
Okay.
I'd say that's for sure. There can be, I could be on one side of the room and my daughter's playing and she's going to drop something on the ground, or, she could be, standing up and she's going to go fall, and I put on my little cape and I go over there in time to save her most of the time. The times that I don't get there, but and then the other one that I have, which I think that a lot of dads have this, but especially at night after we've had, something a little spicy, I can go super dad odor. And I'm telling you, I can blow some toot stick. If we were in a car, it would cause the window to fog up.
Oh man, that's great.
I'm not gonna lie.
Well, if you happen to be a fan of a long-standing fan of the show, and you remember our famous dad combine that we did, I think it was like episode 3 or 4. You saw some of Matt's speed on really in the video. Seeing that shuttle speed that you had there, Matt, I can see why you would have that super dad reflex. And then I also will comment that I also lived with you for a certain period of time, and I think you had the dad toots before you became a dad, because I remember some pretty outrageous stuff going on in the house with Barry and Ashton and the guys.
It was a talent that I had to acquire over the years. There's no doubt.
That's right. You fine-tuned it
Yes.
for sure. No doubt about it. Well, my superhero, I guess you could say, power. I've got the late night superhero power. And my wife will mind me saying this. Like, if a kid wakes up in the middle of the night or something happens in the middle of the night, I don't know if she just pretends like she doesn't hear it or if she hears it and just doesn't want to deal with it or what, but she knows that I'm going to be the one that gets up. And so I get up every time that there's something like that happens. So I'm the kind of the middle of the night guy to help with crying or like literally our daughter woke up last night and was kind of not really crying, but just kind of going, kind of pouting. And I got upstairs and she said her hand itched, which I was just like, okay, it's 4:30 in the morning. That's great. But that's definitely my superhero power is late night super dad, without a doubt. And I'll be honest, I usually like, especially if it's my son and he wants to be like rocked or something, I'll pull up like old school Kentucky basketball YouTube videos and we'll watch those before he falls asleep. I got to indoctrinate him, early. So, all right, guys. One last topic before we get into our dad trivia, which I'm very, very excited about, is coaching your kids in sports. This is a sports show sometimes, and so we like to talk about sports. And I know we've kind of talked about this maybe a couple episodes early on in the show, but is that something you're interested in doing? Is it maybe just like a little Y league until they're old enough, until they go into maybe some competitive sports and then you'll back off? Kyle, I'll toss to you first. Kind of what are your thoughts on doing that? Are you already doing it? Have you done it before? Is that something you envision yourself doing in the future?
So, I was a coach until the last couple of years, I guess.
Really?
Okay.
You'd never mentioned that on the show before, so I didn't.
Well, there's a reason I bring that up.
Yeah.
This wasn't a family show. I call you a name, just so you know.
Would you call him a pervert?
No.
We've already said that. We've already said that. So I've got to go check the explicit material box when we post the show.
But I don't think I want to coach my kids. I'm not gonna say names, but the last few years that I coached with a guy whose son was on the team. And just what I saw, the line between father and son, I would assume it's the same with a daughter. I've never seen that, but at least father and son, that line gets really blurry.
Yep.
When you add coach to that title to the dad, and if when my kids are out playing a sport, I don't want to be there trying to pick them apart, and I want them to do well, but I don't want to be the guy that picks them apart and tells them like, here's every place you screwed up. I just want to be able to sit there, enjoy it, and be proud that they're out there. Like I said, I've seen it go poorly, and quite frankly, I think the dad did a poor job as a coach because he couldn't take his dad hat off.
There you go. And I think you kind of hear and see that, you've seen that, I feel like in movies, and I feel like you hear about that a lot.
Yeah.
That's just kind of like the stereotype, unfortunately. For myself, I think, I coached a couple of years of high school basketball when I was in grad school, but I just don't have I just don't think I would be somebody that's going to coach them when they get into competitive leagues. But I do think like I would definitely be interested in coaching like, the little Y soccer team or the basketball team or just something as they're, 3, 4, 5, 6 years old or something like that. And then once they, like I said, if they decide they want to and they're good enough to play some competitive type sports, I'm kind of like that with you, Kyle. I think just kind of taking a back step and saying, my role is dad now. And again, it's not to pick apart, unless they ask me maybe to pick apart everything about what they've done in their game, but it's just to enjoy it for sure. So I think I'm kind of a little combo of both, but not to cop out. I think I would really enjoy, Matt, and you and I both have coached a lot of little league sports teams. And I think I would really enjoy doing that for both of our kids. But when they get to competitive nature, I think I'll back off and just be the dad, hopefully not yelling from the stands. Matt, what about you?
Well, first off, I'm going to clarify something here, Michael. You said our kids. You're talking about your and your wife's kids. You're not talking about our kids.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. No, our kids are much older, so.
Sorry, that's a bad joke. But anyway, no, I will not coach my daughter. Possibility I might, but, I'm a champion. I've coached, I've coached a championship basketball team. I've coached a flag football team that went undefeated as well. I don't mean to brag, but I don't want that competitive fire to come out in my daughter have to see that, and that ruin things for us.
I tell you, there will without a doubt be an episode, and maybe it's just like kind of like one of those weeks where we just don't have anything going on in the world of sports, and we need some stuff to talk about. Where the life and times of Matt Kirk, YMCA basketball coach, will come out, and we'll get into some stories, folks. Matt and I both used to work at the Y, and we love the Y, but we have some stories about sports parents and about coaching and about people alleging us like trying to fix games and stack rosters and all kinds of stuff. And so yeah, there will be an uncut version or uncensored version at some point in time where we get into all that for sure.
I was telling those parents when I was cutting down the nets I couldn't hear them because I was too high up on that ladder getting that net off.
That's right, absolutely. It was it's a lot of fun. All right, guys, we've got a few minutes left in the show, but I want to get into some of these trivia questions with you guys because again, this is what we're doing on the show, and I feel like it's very important to the quality of this program. So here's what's going to happen. I've got a couple of questions. We're gonna go. Matt, you're gonna get the first question, then Kyle, then Matt, and then Kyle. But what will happen is, Matt, I'll toss you the question first. If you do not know the answer in the amount of time that I'm going to give you, then Kyle, you'll have a chance to answer that question correctly, and then we would move on to Kyle, where you'd kind of do the same thing. You would still get the next question, yada yada. So we'll go into our questions, and I've also got some fun music for us to play while you are contemplating the answer to your question. So I'm going to share my screen with you guys so y'all can pick this up.
And how long do we get to answer?
You are going to get, we'll start with I don't know. We'll start with 10 seconds, and we'll just kind of go from there and see how that works. Is that everybody comfortable with that?
Yes.
Okay. All right, Matt. So you get question number 1. Before his two fights against Apollo Creed, Rocky Balboa would go by his church, and I lost the question. Where'd it go? And ask for a blessing prayer from who?
His preacher.
He's got a specific name, though. I need a specific name.
Brother John.
Kyle, I will toss it to you. Rocky Balboa in his 2 fights with Apollo Creed would go by his church and ask for a blessing prayer from. Three, two,
Father Mario.
You're at least close on the father part. Again,
yeah, I just can't remember his name.
Father Cameron. Father Cameron was the pastor or the Catholic priest that Rocky would go to, trying to find a blessing. Okay, so you guys get it now. So they're all kind of dad-ish related. So there's going to be a father or a dad type thing in all of them. So Kyle, question number 2 to you. Former San Diego Charger and now Indianapolis Colt Philip Rivers is the father to how many children?
7?
7. That answer is not correct. Matt, I'll give you 7 seconds to.
I don't need that many. I know this answer. 9.
Ding, ding, ding! Winner, chicken dinner. We got 9 children for the Rivers, so we've got a 1-0 Matt in front. And Matt can take a commanding lead here. All right, Matt. Question number 3. The only father-son duo in NBA history where the dad was the coach and the son played for him is who?
Austin Rivers and Doc Rivers.
Man, didn't even need 3 seconds. Austin and Doc Rivers. Very good. That's very good, Matt. I'm glad that you were able to come up with that answer. All right, Kyle, this one is in your wheelhouse. You already talked about this earlier. So Archie Manning, who is one of your choices for best father-son duos, had 3 sons. We only mentioned 2, Peyton and Eli, but he had a son named Cooper, who was the oldest. What injury prevented Cooper Manning from being the first Manning son to compete at his dad's alma mater, and what position was he going to play?
So Cooper Manning had, I believe it's spinal stenosis. It was a narrowing of the spinal column, and he was told if he took a hit, he would not be able to play. He was going to play wide receiver. And if you go back and watch the Book of Manning, which is, it's not an E60 or a 30 for 30, it's one of the SEC stories. Peyton said that had Cooper been playing at Ole Miss, he probably would have ended up at Ole Miss to continue playing with his brother instead of going to the University of Tennessee. And there you go.
That's absolutely correct. That's a very long way of answering spinal stenosis and wide receiver. But yes, you got that right. All right, so Matt got 2, Kyle got 1. We're going to do the tiebreaker anyways. Guys, the word padre is Spanish for father. And so I want to know who can name the most players ever. We're going to start with Matt that played, and no cheating here. I don't want to see anybody Googling this. Who can name the most players ever for the San Diego Padres? We'll go Matt, you name one, then to Kyle, then to Matt, then Matt to Kyle. All right, Matt, you're up.
I want to be flat out honest with you here. The only person I can think of is this guy that I played with on 2K named Matt Kirk that played for the Padres. He played in right field and was a slugger. He could hit some dingers.
There we go. Well, I don't know that he's going to show up in any official score books or record statistics, so I can't accept that answer as a correct answer. But it is good to know that you have perfected the MLB The Show. Kyle, can you give us one San Diego Padre?
Well, I could give you more than one, but I'll just go with, I guess, maybe he's the most well-known Padre in Tony Gwynn.
Yeah.
I don't know. Is he the most well-known?
I think he's got to be.
Okay.
He's the only – I'll be honest with you.
He's the only one you knew.
Didn't Hofferman, wasn't he a Padre?
Trevor Hoffman. He was a Padre.
Okay,
and there's a guy that played in Mississippi State a few years ago that's up there playing in the outfield for the Padres now, and I forget his name all of a sudden.
Okay. So we collectively have 2 names, and I called him Hofferman. So yeah, the Padres, they are one of the nation's worst sports franchises for a reason. And if you're a Padres fan, let us know. We'd love for you to come on and debate that on our show at some point in time. Because what you got, Matt?
I'm actually looking this up online, and I didn't know this, but Jackie Robinson played for them for a short stint.
Oh, did he really?
Yeah, he played for them in 1949.
Okay.
So it looks like, yep.
This was this before his Dodger days or after his Dodger days?
It'd be after.
Yeah, it would be after.
So that's what I was thinking it was after. Well, there you go. You learn new things all the time here on Dad's Watching Sports. Guys, we got to get out of here shortly, but I have to finish the show with my dad joke, which is, guys, why don't eggs tell jokes?
I don't know.
Because they crack each other up. There we go. And ladies and gentlemen, we will leave you with that. This has been the Father's Day edition of Dad's Watching Sports. We hope you check us out. Continue to check us out anywhere you can. Matt is back from Turks and Caicos. We're very excited to have him back with that gorgeous tan. Guys, we will see you next week on Dad's Watching Sports.
Hey, Michael, I got one more fact to tell you about basketball. So there's one father-son duo that played at the same college and for the same NBA team. Can you tell me who that is and what college and what pro team?
One father and son who played for the same NBA and pro team.
Well, college and NBA.
Yeah. I'm going to – man, that's tough.
I'm not going to lie. He's a very –